What's going on, YouTube? This is my pre-fight prediction, as promised after the weigh-ins. If I look tired, I am tired. I've been on call for the last 24 hours, so I've been working off and on, no sleep. But getting into the video, this right here, what I'm about to play before I break down this fight, is why a lot of people want Dominic Breazeale to win. I want y'all to listen carefully to what's asked to him and what he says.
If you beat Wilder, would you be looking to unify the titles against AJ?
Yeah, I keep telling people it's not if, it's when I beat Wilder. When I beat Wilder, I definitely would love to unify the titles against AJ. I understand, and I've understand now for the last.
That's enough of that. So, as Dominic Breazeale just said, if he beats Deontay Wilder, he will go for a unification fight and unify all titles with AJ. And yeah, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to see all the belts on the line, all the gold on the line. And that's the biggest problem that people have had with this Deontay Wilder and AJ situation, that neither man are fighting each other. Now, with that being said, let's get into this breakdown. They did the weigh-ins today. Wilder came in extremely heavy compared to what he was before. He came in at 223 and a half, and Dominic Breazeale actually came in a little lighter than what we've seen him at 255 and a half, I believe. So you're looking at about a 30-pound, 32-pound difference between them. Now, with that being said, I'm glad that Deontay Wilder is putting on weight. To the Deontay Wilder detractors, I don't want to hear that Deontay Wilder is using PEDs if he wins this fight. Just because his brother got popped for steroids doesn't per se mean Deontay Wilder is taking steroids. And I'm saying this as somebody who has lost weight, gained weight in the process of regaining weight. You got to understand, 223 at 6'7" is still very light. Deontay Wilder is still very underweight. So for him to put on weight at that height, that's not a lot of weight to put on. So I believe that weight is natural. Now, what I will say to even furthermore that I don't believe that Deontay Wilder's on any type of PEDs, when you looked at him on the scale for this fight, he didn't look as hard as he normally looks. Now, normally if a guy's taking steroids, especially with only that little bit of amount of weight, so you figure he's normally around 214 on a normal given day. So it's only a 9-pound difference, 9.5 pounds if you had the half pound. So 9.5 pound difference. If a man was on steroids, 9.5 pounds, he would look solid. And to me, Deontay Wilder looked a lot softer than what we're used to seeing him. He didn't look as lean, as cut, which is fine. I don't think the weight is going to play a role into his endurance. I don't think it's going to slow him down because we're talking about minimum weight. We're only talking about 9.5 pounds spread out through a 6'7" frame. It's not a lot of weight, especially when you spread it out so far. So I'm not looking at Deontay Wilder getting tired at all. I'm not looking at him looking sluggish at all. The only thing I'm looking at is this is going to give him more punching power because everything's going to come at the same speed, and now he's got more weight behind his ass to do it. Another thing that's going to help him with is inside the clinch. You know, you could really see when he fought Tyson Fury that he was just too undersized for a heavyweight. He just didn't weigh enough, and Tyson Fury was controlling the pocket. So I feel like with this weight gain, it helps him inside the pocket if Dominic Breazeale tries to impose his weight on him, which is something that I see Dominic Breazeale has to do. Now, while I've been waiting to do this pre-fight prediction, I've seen other channels talk, and they don't know what they're talking about. They ain't never boxed before. They have no idea. The thing with Dominic Breazeale, what he needs to do against Deontay Wilder is make Deontay Wilder move backwards. Other channels will say, no, that's the wrong thing for Breazeale to do, but that is incorrect. The only shot that Dominic Breazeale has in this is if he can get Deontay Wilder backing up. Deontay Wilder is most deadly when he's coming towards you, when he's flailing, or when he does that little hop step he does with that straight right that comes down the pipeline. That is, to me, his most dangerous punch, is when you give him enough space. It's how he floored Tyson Fury in the 12th round. It's when he does that little hop step. Just a bow. I'm sorry, I can't move that much, y'all. And it comes straight down with a very good straight right. Very precise straight right. Is that hop skip is the most deadliest thing he has in his arsenal. Now, with that being said, Virgil Hunter is now on Dominic Breazeale's team to help train him. He had 10 weeks to do it. And I will put it like this. To me, Virgil Hunter is not an Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart, we'll go Dragon Ball terms. We'll go geeky for a minute. Emmanuel Stewart was like a Whis for tall fighters. He got them to unlock their God key. He took them to a whole nother level, right? Whereas to me, Virgil Hunter would be more like a King Kai. He can teach a normal person how to hit their KO King. He's very good at improving, but I would not put him on the level of an Emmanuel Stewart. So with that being said, I see Virgil Hunter working on Dominic Breazeale's guard and head movement, especially teaching him how to come in and avoid punches. So that's what I'm looking at from Hunter to teach Breazeale, is to have the head movement and to get in on Deontay Wilder, make the fight up close, because the thing about it is Dominic Breazeale has knocked out a lot of people in close range, very close proximity, whereas Deontay Wilder does it from range. So you know the advantage is going to go to Dominic Breazeale if he can close that gap, and that's the only chance he has, because he's not going to be able to sit there and trade with Deontay Wilder. Although I do feel Dominic Breazeale does have the power to knock Deontay Wilder out. It's just that when you're a slower puncher, when you're a more flat-footed puncher, you can't battle somebody the same length as you at range, because they're going to tag you more times than you're going to tag them, especially when you lack the defensive skills that Dominic Breazeale has shown in the past. Now, with that being said, I think the first couple of rounds is going to be filling out, okay? Well, before that, let me talk about what Deontay Wilder has to do. We all know what Deontay Wilder has to do. Land one punch. There's nothing significantly that needs to be changed about Deontay Wilder for a Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale, to me, is just, he's a good fighter, but I wouldn't really use him as a measuring stick, so to say. Can he beat Wilder? Yes, he very well could beat Wilder. We could see, and we could. It is very possible, especially with Virgil Hunter. It just depends on how Dominic Breazeale's defense goes, because he's very durable, but he's not durable enough to just get pounded by Deontay Wilder. If that happens, he'll be out early. So, with that being said, back to this, how I see this going. The first couple of rounds to me is going to be a filling out for Dominic Breazeale. Look for a high guard, him trying to come in, close the gap, work behind the jab, but don't look for a bunch of jabs, because Virgil Hunter knows the more jabs that Breazeale throws from range, the more likely he is to get countered. So you're going to be looking at little feints with stepping forward, feints and moving forward to try to box Deontay Wilder in, get his back possibly against the rope, get him moving backwards, because you got to take away that power. Now, another thing about Dominic Breazeale that I'll be interested to see in about Virgil Hunter is he going to start slow? Because that was the downfall that we just saw against Hurd and J-Rock. J-Rock came out, pounced on Hurd, and Hurd just never recovered after he got knocked down, to the point of where we never saw him exhausted before, and he was exhausted. We know Deontay Wilder will come out, especially when he's mad, with fireworks. So Dominic Breazeale's got to fire on all cylinders at the first round. He can't go 5 to 6 rounds to get into the fight, or he's going to be out of the fight before 5 or 6 rounds is up. So, back to what I was saying. First couple of rounds, I'm seeing Dominic Breazeale looking very nice, clean, tight, backing Deontay Wilder down. I would say that the first 2 rounds, I think Dominic Breazeale with Virgil Hunter is going to be good enough to win the rounds. Where I think it's all going to fall apart for Dominic Breazeale is once he gets hit that first real time. 10 weeks isn't a lot of time to change your stripes, to change your spots. So you're always going to revert back to what you know when in danger. Your instincts are going to kick in, and sometimes they override your logic. And you rely on what you know. It's muscle memory. I feel like Dominic Breazeale is too easy to be hit. I feel like his guard is too low and his head doesn't move enough while he's trying to move in to back you up to hurt you. I feel once Wilder clips him for the first time, you're going to see Breazeale around the third, fourth round revert back to the old Breazeale. And then from there, it's only a matter of time before Wilder gets him out. That's what I believe is going to happen. I believe Deontay Wilder will win by knockout. Either way it goes, I think either man is going to win by knockout. But I don't feel Dominic Breazeale had enough time with Virgil Hunter to change how he fights. And stylistically, this is a great fight for Deontay Wilder because he's got a slow, flat-footed guy who's going to come forward with not much of a defense. So it's like a moving punching bag towards him. Now, like I said, Virgil Hunter is an it factor. He can make Dominic Breazeale go Kaioken times 10, and Breazeale could win this fight around 6th to 8th round by knockout. I think if Deontay Wilder's going to win, you're probably going to look within the first 7 rounds. You're going to see a knockout. And I would not be surprised if Deontay Wilder knocks out Dominic Breazeale faster than AJ did, because Wilder, when he hurts you, he's like a shark smelling water or like a piranha in a frenzy. He just goes for blood. Whereas AJ is more methodical and technical and doesn't expose himself to the windmills to be countered like Wilder does. So I would not be surprised if Wilder does knock out Dominic Breazeale faster than AJ, but you can't really use this as a measuring stick because you got to understand, when AJ fought Dominic Breazeale, that was early in his career. So the AJ today is not the same AJ that knocked Dominic Breazeale out years ago. So I know they like try to use this as a measuring stick. You really can't, because even the Dominic Breazeale fight in Wilder is not the same Dominic Breazeale that fought AJ. We're not watching a back-to-back fight or a fight in between fight. You know, there's been a lot of time, a lot of growth that have happened for Breazeale and AJ. So it's going to be very hard to use this. Even if Wilder knocks, say, Dominic Breazeale out in the 11th or 12th round, there's still not a measuring stick to say AJ is better, because we don't know how fast AJ will knock out the current day Dominic Breazeale, if that makes sense. So I don't really see this fight as a measuring stick. The only measuring stick that really could be done is if Dominic Breazeale comes out, gets hit one time in the first round, and the fight's over. Then there's an argument to be had that Deontay Wilder is a much harder puncher than AJ. That argument is to be had. But if this fight drags on for however many rounds it drags on, it's not really a good indication between either guy, because there's been too many fights in between, too many growths of all fighters. Now, with all that being said, I want to touch on the weigh-ins. Brendan Shaw. Brendan Shaw, you need to shut the fuck up. He kept trying to overtalk Polly. You know MMA. Don't talk about boxing and don't overtalk a world champion boxer when he's trying to get words in. Also, was Brendan Shaw paid to like support Wilder? Because the shit that he was saying didn't make sense to me. Like, one of the things he used was, well, Deontay Wilder's fighting the hardest competition right now. AJ's doing Ruiz. Tyson Fury is fighting a nobody, I believe. I don't even believe he said his name. And then he's like, then you've got Wilder fighting Dominic Breazeale. That don't even make no fucking sense. You can't say that, because if you watch the Andy Ruiz fight, there's an argument to be had that he beat Joseph Parker. To state that Dominic Breazeale is better than Joseph Parker would be a huge stretch. And to state that Ruiz is worse than Dominic Breazeale is even a bigger stretch. I don't think Dominic Breazeale could beat Ruiz, to be honest with you. I think Ruiz would go in there and piece him up. I mean, Ruiz, for a guy who's so aesthetically out of shape looking, got some fast fucking hands. Really fast. It's impressive to see a big man move that fast. But this isn't about that. The point is, you can't say Wilder's fighting a harder competition when AJ's already beat the guy that Wilder is fighting. And it would be the same vice versa. If AJ fought somebody Wilder was already beat, you can't say AJ's fighting the harder fighter. You can't. And he brought up the triple threat, or the triple-headed beast, which I don't believe with. They're not the Hydra, because you're leaving out Dillian Whyte. To me, Dillian Whyte's fought harder competition than all of them. period. He's fought more higher top ranked people than AJ Fury, definitely Fury, because Fury ain't fought nobody but Wilder since he's been back, and Wilder, in my opinion. That's why I have so much respect from a fighter standpoint for Dillian White, but that's going off on a tangent. Back to the point. I see Dominic Breazeale looking pretty good, winning the early rounds until he gets hit. Once he gets hurt, I see him reverting back to where his guard's going to be low, his head's going to be open to be hit, and Deontay Wilder is going to find his range and start teeing off on him. And once he gets Dominic Breazeale hurt, Dominic Breazeale to me doesn't even have the speed to stop the onslaught that's going to hit him. Once again, I've said this before. Personally, I would love to see Dominic Breazeale win because I know he's going to fight AJ. The non-personal, the thing that I always go by, the non-biased opinion of mine is I want Deontay Wilder to win because I feel Deontay Wilder has a greater shot at beating a Dillian White. Tyson Fury, I don't even really want to talk about. I love Tyson Fury. I loved his whole entire career. I loved his antics. But after he pulled that bullshit of he wanted to rematch Deontay Wilder and then pulled out of the rematch talking about, oh, I need a warm-up fight. No. I don't even want to mention their two names together, so Fury's out of it for me. Fury's got to do a lot to get that respect back for me. And then, you know, AJ, of course. But anyways, that's how I see it going. I'm not trying to drag this on any longer. It's already been 16 minutes. I see Deontay Wilder winning by knockout. And once again, I think Deontay Wilder has a greater shot at beating White, Fury, and AJ if they were to fight. That is why my non-biased opinion, the American in me, even though I don't like doing things by tribalistic ways, I like the person, not where they're from. If we want the belts to stay in America, the greatest candidate to keep them in America is Deontay Wilder because he does have, like I said in the past, he's got that OPM, one punch man. He's got that punch, and that's all he needs, no matter how bad the technique is. So, thank y'all for watching. If you like this, please sub. Like always, I do live commentary for big-time fights. So check it out tomorrow on Saturday. Thank you again for watching.